The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Amenuveve FM in Aflao, A1 Radio in Bolgatanga, Sky FM in Sunyani, and ATL FM in Cape Coast. You can also listen live on your Spotify and myjoyonline.com app. In this edition,
so it's not good for government to pass this.
Levy should not be passed
because the 1.57 is too much.
Those with wholesale sellers, what do you call it? Small petty traders, they patronage this mobile money.
Strong opposition to e-levy greeted by renewed government resolve to push the controversial bill through Parliament, insisting any further delay in approval will grossly affect implementation of its flagship programs.
Road projects will continue in earnest. We are hopeful that the incoming e-levy will generate funds.
Opposition is making the levy a big issue. What they don't realize is that where are we going to find the money to give subsidies to the farmers? There will be nothing.
We'll hear from key cabinet ministers as President Akufo-Addo describes his agreement over the tax as needless.
These measures, like this famous tax, which has caused so much unnecessary, in my view, disputation. But nevertheless, we will continue. I'm determined to persevere.
I'll take you live to Takoradi in the Western region, where a government town hall forum is scheduled for later this afternoon. Also coming up, 9 persons allegedly engaged in illicit activities, including galamsey and fraudulent businesses funded by some political parties and candidates in the 2020 elections.
You would find that when you go to the contracts that are given out after an election, sourcing. You track it, and then you connect the dots, and you say, oh, so it's a campaign finance, yeah.
We have details of the CDD study, which also reveals the cost of running for president in Ghana has now ballooned to at least $100 million. We'll also ask how safe the fufu you eat at that favorite choba is.
We realize that naphthalene is also one of the highest polyaromatics that we find in our street vended foods. So the water that they fetch overnight.
We hear from KNUST scientists who've been studying street vended fufu and fried rice.
Yeah,
also in sports,
CAF rejects Ghana's request to play playoff against Nigeria at Bayero Sports Stadium. We have details in 20 minutes.
And later in showbiz, we hear from Strong Stress Wendy Shea, who's been responding to Ghanaians' backlash on her new look.
Yeah, I'll say rebrand, rebirth, growth, evolution, maturity. That's all I'm trying to communicate.
We have that and more in this edition of the Midday News with me, Emefa Apo. Thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, credible, and fearless journalism. Please stay for details. Many thanks for your company. This afternoon, the strong opposition to the passage of the controversial e-levy has been greeted by a renewed government resolve to push the bill through Parliament. Experts have predicted dire consequences, including high youth unemployment and a potential break in progress of the country's digitization agenda if the 1.75% tax is approved. But as the campaign to get the bill thrown out takes center stage of discussions, key government ministers are warning that the failure to implement the e-levy will truncate government flagship policies. We'll hear from the Roads plus the Agric Minister shortly. First, though, listen to General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedun Ketia, who says no room for compromise on the e-levy is available.
Their insistence that, we are we, so no retreat, no surrender. This is what we want, and it must happen. We are in government. That is one attitude.
But you're telling us...
The second attitude is also that they are not trustworthy at this stage. There is a serious trust deficit. So there is nobody they will be engaging who will think that they mean what they are saying.
So even if they propose a revised policy, your suspicion is that they may not stay committed to whatever it is they're telling
But
you.
what have they stayed committed to? All the monies they started collecting. They say they are running, a democratic system. In which democracy would you call a minister to come and account for some government expenditure, and he will face you and say that we are not going to account to anybody? In which jurisdiction would you have a president abandoning the state presidential jet and be hiring private jets.
Now, take a listen to Roads and Agric Ministers Kwesi Amoakwata and Dr. Efiri Akoto, who say major government programs like Planting for Food and Jobs and road construction drive will suffer if the e-levy fails to pass.
So road construction, road projects will continue in earnest. And all this, we are hopeful that the incoming e-levy will generate funds to pay for and to even do more. So the people of this country, the people of Tamale, all MPs in Tamale, must support the passage of the e-levy bill for more to be done, for them and their constituencies.
That is why it's become necessary for this government to look for alternative sources of revenue to close the gap, and hence the electronic levy. The opposition is making the electronic levy a big issue. What they don't realize is that it's affecting other areas. So if we are to remove the levy, where are we going to find the money to give subsidies to the farmers? There'll be nothing.
Well, so that's the Agric and Roads Ministers there. But Joy News put up another poll. This will be about the third poll on social media on this subject alone. And my colleague Manuel Crantin joins me in studio with details of that poll. Manuel, what was the question this time? Because we know that the previous one, we asked if the economy is even collapsing, would you still support it? People still said no. What's this one?
Indeed, MFR, the poll is asking if people will support the e-levy if Ghana's economy will collapse without it. And out of 954 votes, 84% say no and 16% say yes. A couple of the messages, like tweets under this particular post, says that this is from Akusia, and says the extra question is, if the economy collapses or e-levy no economic collapse, is it going to affect your current situation, or every value will be the same? This one is from Michael, and he says, what collapsing again is being referred to here? Seriously, there must be more to this e-levy than meets the eye. And Speak Up says the economy did not collapse when Ken Ofurata borrowed 52.5 billion cedis from the country. So a couple of other messages, and all in support of the votes that we've seen. 84% saying no, and then 16% saying yes. MFR.
We'll head to the Western region for that town hall. This time, we know that the first one was in the Eastern region. This time, there's one in the Western region later this afternoon. But President Akufo-Addo has been speaking about the opposition being faced by the e-levy. He says it is needless.
In order to keep the country going, had to incur additional expenditures for the free water, the free electricity, the provision of free food. These were unavoidable expenses that government had to make. So the gap, the fiscal impact of what we had to do has been considerable. These are the efforts that we're now making, which are being resisted by the opposition to us, to try and close the gap. It's necessary for us to do so because that is the only way in which some of these matters can be addressed. It's not going to be possible for us in Ghana to continue forever to be dependent on foreign grants and foreign loans to keep our economy going. We ourselves will have to find the money for our development. And that is the reason why it's become necessary for us to introduce these measures like this famous tax, which has caused so much unnecessary, in my view, disputation. But nevertheless, we will continue. I'm determined to persevere, to make sure that we find the means to address some of the issues that you have got. It cannot be done other than through government. Government doesn't have any money on its own. It has money from the taxes of the people.
Well, there's been a reaction from the minority in Parliament. Isaac Adongo is NDC MP for Bolga Central.
You are talking as if the minority somehow is the group of people that should do you a favor. That is the first point. So the president must know that the arrogance of power and the intolerance to the people of Ghana and the insults to the people of Ghana is squarely at the doorstep of him mobilizing the 138 to come and pass his bill. That is the first point. The second point is All the deception, Ghanaians have come to know that you are not a government that can hold a divided country together.
See.
You are not a government that can get the buy-in of Ghanaians over a policy that you believe is the anchor of your economic policy. You are not a government that is very truthful to the people of Ghana, because all your communication around e-levy distorts the facts.
That's Isaac Adungo there. Let's head to the Western region now. Ahead of that town hall, correspondent Ina Talia Kwansa has been gauging the mood of some residents in the region, and she joins us on the line. Ina, what have they been telling you?
Yes, MFA. So for residents in the Western region, they feel that the e-levy, some of them feel that the e-levy is not important. Some of them say that upon all the taxes that has been collected previously, what has government done with it? And they want government to give them evidence, and they want a critical explanation as to what this e-levy is really going to be used for. Let's take a listen to some of them.
I'm not against any form of taxation, because we all know that it's our taxes that are going to be used to develop our country. But the percentage on the e-levy is very unfair. Even the service providers are charging 1%. How should the government charge 1.7%?
Then he said, Debiano, ye didja, a binding, I say, ye didja or campasso, but a binding son faso. In Tabai so, Sandia, young fat, a talk to be found to a journey, because all the money saying it goes to the network providers. Because in Faso, now, Omunomunya, and see, a bunch of the crowd being a free the communication industries for no, and the best on a photo and a budget I have to also at the
Some varied views there from the Western region ahead of that town hall later this afternoon in the Western region. We'll be bringing you details of that. But you've been hearing from the president and his concerns that those who have raised issues with the e-levy, he says these concerns are actually needless. Let me bring in the senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Lord Mensah. We're grateful for your time. So you're one of these economists who are predicting a negative outlook for the economy should the e-levy pass. You've been hearing the president. He says these concerns you're raising are needless. You agree?
Oh, well, that is unfortunate because if you look at projections into the future, obviously you may have to look at the possible uncertainty that may arise as a result of a certain decision, economic decision, I mean. We are just prompting the president that if you put the e-levy at a certain threshold, there's a tendency that you would discourage people from using the platform. And like I said, we are still at the early stage of, introducing the e-levy onto, payment platforms. Early stage of using the e-levy for transactions. And when it happens like that, at the early stage, the demand for using the platform is very sensitive, when you introduce the price to a certain level. And so we are giving the possible scenario that the economy may face in case we should introduce this e-levy. But then also, the attitude from the sectors of, government gives the indication that we don't want to manage as a country. Because a country that wants to manage, possibly you are looking at how you can allocate the scarce resources that you have. And with the attitude, we portray as if we have the resources and therefore we must tap into it. We've been calling for cut down in expenditure because we know very well that with the little that you have, which is your revenue, you should be able to manage it through. But the attitude has been that we need assets. If you go down the appendix of the budget that was read, clearly the capex that was earmarked for the 2022 expenditure, all the infrastructure needs has been assigned clearly. So I don't see what the e-levy with 7 billion is coming to do.
Well, that's Professor Lord Mensah. We're grateful for your time. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. We're staying on the president. Some Ghanaians are urging him to stay true to his campaign promises of ensuring that fuel prices are reduced. The president is on record to have assured Ghanaians that when giving the mandate to run the affairs of the country, a hike in fuel prices, which was experienced during the Eswal Mahama administration, will be a thing of the past.
The bulk distribution companies may transfer similar, changes to the oil marketing companies, and that will also reflect at the pumps. And so consumers should brace themselves to see if
some oil marketing companies are continuing to adjust the prices and adjust their prices upwards at the pump. Driver unions are expected to hold a crunch meeting in the next 24 hours to consider the possibility of increasing transport fares. David Aguado, a spokesperson for the Concerned Drivers Association.
On Thursday, the commercial transport operators of Ghana are going to meet. After our meeting, we will come out with increments in transport fare or upward adjustments in transport fare. So if there is to go and fish and come and sell to us, and they do the same, why did we subsidize their products for them? So that price stabilization and recovery levy, we don't see the value on it. We don't see what is doing for us. It must be described entirely.
Well, we've been hearing from the NPA. They're also warning that there could be more in terms of the upward adjustments of these prices. But some Ghanaians who spoke to Joy News say government must intervene to avert an increase in transport fares. We'll hear from them shortly, but let's head to politics now. And a study by the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, has revealed that individuals allegedly engaged in illicit activities funded political parties in the just-ended elections. These activities include galamsey, illegal oil distribution, fraudulent businesses, amongst others. The financiers are said to have funded the campaign with the aim of making friends to ensure sustenance of their businesses should the recipient of the funds win the polls. Researcher William Nyako at a news conference first explained how the study was carried out.
Put it down to 10 informants each, a total of 40 informants, party insiders, snowballing techniques, people who know what's been happening on the ground. Field work took place after the election. We didn't want to do anything which was going to be seen to be attempting to interfere with the election. So it was after the election. Then, once we were able to come up with the list of major financiers, and here we define a major financier as somebody who is able to give from 100,000 United States dollars in cash or in kind, and a combination of it. And we found 53. And once we got the list, having verified, done some follow-ups, investigations, then we did a sampling of these financiers. We have to make sure that the integrity of the information we put out is accurate. And so we did a sampling of the financiers. We called them, we interviewed them. So we had 12 of them, 4 in each region, and we had a success rate of about 80%.
My colleague Joseph Akable sat through proceedings. He joins us on the line. Do we know who these financiers are and what are the illegal activities they are said to be engaged in?
We do not know their names, but we understand that these are individuals who contribute at the minimum $100,000 either in cash or in kind, and the aim is to ensure that they make friends who are politicians, and when those politicians win political power, they help them to sustain their business. And this was confirmed through interviews with some of these financiers as well as the political parties as well.
Of candidates and political parties funding to them who were allegedly engaged in illicit activities and funneling the money back. And these financiers were engaged in illegal mining, Galamsey. Ever wonder why it's so difficult getting this problem solved? Illegal oil distribution, bunkering.
Well, Blay, there are also some details on cost of running elections.
And so for one to have a shot at the presidency, we are told that at least an amount of $100 million is what he must raise. For that of MPs, that is for primaries and the parliamentary elections proper, we are looking at a figure of about 4 million cedis in order to prosecute a campaign that would ensure that you'll be able to win political power.
So, this came from our field work. The data we collected, we analyzed, the validation sessions. CDD and WFD did the survey, as Dr. Santi said, at the time. The cost was $85,000 to run for MP. Our new estimate puts it at $693,000, the equivalent of $4 million.
Well, let's hear the reactions of some political parties who were present. We'll start with the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, then Peter McMeno.
Most of the things that have been captured represents the reality of the situation. And I would want to say, for instance, as for how we came here, Mr. McMahon have said something about it. I don't want to go into that because when we started, immediately post-revolution, the cost wasn't what it is now. We know that if one party introduces some practice and you are all in the same market, you'll be forced by the same electorates to also copy same. So that may have accounted for why we are here.
Sorry to say that the media is part of electioneering campaign. And if you have been following the activities of political campaign, the media component, the cost involved in the media campaign, from social media through the original, newspaper, television, door-to-door, one-on-one. It costs a lot of money. So if you ask me, how did we get here? The media landscape has even expanded.
That's Peter McMahon, former campaign chair of the NPP. You also heard earlier Johnson Asiedu Nketia there. We've been talking about 9 persons allegedly engaged in illicit activities, including galamsey and fraudulent businesses, funded some political parties and candidates in the 2020 elections. Also stories we've covered so far. Stronger position to e-levy greeted by renewed government resolve to push the controversial bill through Parliament, insisting any further delay in approval will grossly affect implementation of its flagship programs. We also heard from President Eko, who is describing disagreement over the tax as needless. When we return from the break here on the Midday News, we are asking how safe the fufu or the fried rice you buy from the favorite joint is.
We realize that naphthalene is also one of the highest polyaromatics that we find in our street vended foods. So the water that they fetch overnight.
And then in showbiz, we'll hear from songstress Wendy Shea, who's been responding to the backlash on her new look.
Yeah, I'll say rebrand, rebirth, growth, evolution, maturity. That's all I'm trying to communicate.
What brings you to my house this early morning? I hope all is well.
All is never well with me, Nick Bakbo. After paying 3 times for the land for my project, the construction workers are now giving me wahala. From material overestimation to small stealing. I am tired.
I told you so, Efokoku.
It's all because you are trying to become builders when you're corporate workers and business people. Edlum has products tailored to meet your needs. Villas 3 at Amrahia, where there are finished homes. Conveniente, also at Amrahia, where it's contemporary but super affordable apartments. Prices start from $35,000. And the Avant-Garde, located in Adjurigano, which has sleek luxury apartments. For more information, please visit edlumhousing.com or simply call 0270-166-166. Edlum Housing, where spacious homes cost less.
Many thanks for your company. It's the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM, also on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. It's time for sports. Muftal, what do we have?
Yes, the Ghana Football Association's request to have the walk-off playoff game against Nigeria moved from the Cape Coast Sports Stadium to the Bayara Sports Stadium has been rejected by CAF. CAF, in a statement, said based on the venue selection received from each of the participating national associations, CAF has timely concluded the assessment of the selected stadiums and communicated to FIFA the venue decisions for the upcoming FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 African Qualifiers playoff round. Considering that match day is less than 30 days, CAF is not in position to delay any further the confirmation of match venue. As you are aware, the selection of the venue, respective date and time of the match has to be set well in advance, and this will have a direct impact on preparation of the match logistics and preparations by the parties concerned. Besides, note that Babayara Sports Stadium is currently non-homologated by CAF to host international matches. That's the communique from the Confederation of African Football. And talking of CAF, the semi-final of the African Cup of Nations will be happening tonight. Is Burkina Faso versus Senegal. Burkina Faso are seeking to make it to the final for the second time since 2019. They lost the final in 2019 to Algeria, and now Aliou Cisse says an opportunity for them to make it to the grand finale again.
And the search for a Black Stars coach is still on.
It's still on. The politics is still happening. The GFA leadership in Germany are expected back to the country on Friday. We understand there will be a meeting with the Prime Minister.
Still in town?
Chris is still in town. He'll leave Ghana. He'll leave Ghana on September 6th.
Oh, okay.
February 6th, rather.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We moved down. Now, how safe is the fufu or fried rice you consume by the roadside? Scientists at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology have been looking into this, and they've discovered in it dangerous levels of camphor, said to be the source of cataract and other diseases at higher levels. Joy News medical reporter Dr. Nita Prasam speaks with the lead scientist, Dr. Gloria Mafanda Ankabrewo, with the Department of Food Science and Technology.
The scientists found that the concentration of camphor in hot pepper sauce and fried rice was as high as 6,500 milligrams per kilogram.
We realized that the water that they fetch overnight, they want to try and then sediment the dirt that are in it. So they use the naphthalene balls to sediment the dirt. And so by so doing, it doesn't dissolve easily, but it has a lower rate of dissolution. So slowly, after it's there for a very long time, by the time you realize it has dissolved completely in the water, and then we are adding more naphthalene balls. If we can take naphthalene away from our waters, using them as pest repellents, we will reduce that a lot.
They also recommend the review of policies that govern the use of camphor in food preparation processes. Reporting for Joy News, Dr. Netta Pashram.
Well, we'll check out fufu and fried rice. But let's talk showbiz now. My pizza Savidi is in the studio. Wendy Shea.
Yeah, Wendy Shea, Rough Town Records signee Wendy Shea says her new hairstyle signifies maturity and a rebirth as a musician. So if you've checked out her Instagram page, she has goldish, blonde-ish dreads. No, please. Mine is ash. I beg you. I beg you. Okay. Yeah, goldish, blondish dreads. And a lot of people were, very surprised and shocked at her outlook. But this is what she had to say.
Let's talk about the hair. I mean, I'm sure you saw the reaction you got when you first, launched the hair. Is it part of a rebrand process, sort of?
Yeah, I'll say rebrand, rebirth, growth. Yeah, evolution, maturity. That's all I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah. Hair is here to stay.
Definitely.
That's fine.
I'm not going back though, because I love to keep it natural, I'm appreciating God's handwork because this is natural. So yeah, right.
I've been monitoring you back to back with your stage presence. You come on with, your costume. Really, it looks like you carefully curate your costumes. You do it yourself or you have a stylist?
I do it myself. Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's
styling myself, but then I do have a designer who, he brings the picture I have in my mind always to life, So I love working with him. So yes, I do bring the everything. It's very accurate. I'm a perfectionist sometimes, so I like to, have some particular details in my dressing. Yeah, so.
Come on, hey, come on, hey, come on. Let's go to Twitter. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that's a why. Okay, Chris Houghton, King Promise, and Daddy Lumba are all trending. Also, hashtag Ask Montari is trending with Sule Montari.
And he's heading to Accra Heart of Oak, yeah?
Yeah.
Phobia.
Okay, please.
Master, say it and let me hear.
No,
Master,
please. Me, I'm Kotoko, please. I beg you. Thank you.
And that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau. Many thanks for your company. We have Living Word with Pastor Menso Tabel. Please stay for it.
Business a bit news to say. So the projections from the first quarter show a higher total gross profit for the fiscal year. A bit me kasa saying,
Nana, who's not land you? He did a port right.
A bit me to say.
Here are your items. Thank you for coming.